This is your USMNT Abroad midweek update from December 9th to December 11th of 2024. Hello. If you are new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we do the weekend recap. So on Monday we'll do that, and then every single Thursday, not every single, but most Thursdays, we do the midweek recap, usually when we have the Champions League. Now, unfortunately, we record this on Wednesday, so we're not going to be covering the Americans that play in the Europa League or Europa Conference League, and they are Tenor Tessman from Lyon, Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, he's also injured anyway, and Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim. So we're going to be covering mainly the Americans that play in the Champions League and the EFL Championship because they played during the midweek. With that said, make sure to drop a like in this video. Let's try to hit 1,000 likes as always. With that said, also put a random comment in the comment section to rig the YouTube algorithm. And that's all. Roll the intro and let's start the recap. Okay, the UEFA Champions League, the best soccer tournament in the world, the most competitive soccer tournament in the world. Why don't we start with that and talk about Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musah from Milan. And on Wednesday, Musah started and played 83 minutes for Milan during their 2-1 win over Red Star. And I didn't really watch this game, so I don't want to comment on Yunus Musah's performance, but he did lose the ball and was at fault with the one goal that they conceded. And I heard he didn't play well, but no further comments from myself because it's not really fair to judge a player and put out an opinion without actually watching him. So if you did watch Yunus Musah, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, what about Christian Pulisic? As you may know, he is injured and he has a calf injury and is expected to be out for at least 15 days. So it's safe to assume that he is done for 2024. There was also some reports that came out claiming that Milan expects Pulisic to be back January 3rd when they face Juventus in the Supercoppa Italiana semifinals against Mckennie and Weah. Look, I like Milan a lot, but I don't consider myself a fan, or at least not a legit fan. I'm a US Men's National Team fan, and I don't really care that much about Milan at the moment because the United States doesn't really play till March. I just want Pulisic to be back 100%. If it takes 2 weeks or a month, it doesn't really matter. Just don't rush it. Next up is another player that's injured, and his name is Folarin Balogun. And I got bad news. Okay, so we have another injury update right here. Balogun re-aggravated his shoulder injury after returning, and he will now require shoulder surgery and is expected to miss multiple weeks. And I am no doctor, even though I could be a doctor if I wanted to. I could also have been an astronaut if I wanted to. I just chose not to be one or the other because I prefer being here on YouTube. Regardless, based on the timeline of other shoulder surgeries, Balogun should be out for 8 to 10 weeks, which means he will be back in February of 2025 at the earliest. I told you it was bad news, but now we got good news. And we're going to be talking about Mckennie and Weah from Juventus. And on Wednesday, Mckennie and Weah start off the bench and were subbed in the 69th minute. Nice. For Juventus during their 2-0 win over Manchester City. And the Americans put the nail in the coffin for Man City. Even though I'm going to say one thing, I know it's Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. But beating Man City these days, it's not as big of an accomplishment as it was, let's say, 8 months ago. And for this game, Mckennie scored for Juventus. He got the ball in the midfield and sent a long pass to Timothy Weah down the right. Weah's first cross got blocked, but then he delivered a second one and got the assist where Mckennie scored. Mckennie actually scored a scissor kick volley to give Juventus the 2-0 lead. And if y'all have a good memory, Mckennie actually scored a very similar goal in the Champions League back in 2020 versus Barcelona. It was also a scissor kick, a volley kick, whatever you want to call it. And this is the most Mckennie thing possible, right? He gets injured, he comes back a little bit earlier than expected because he has Wolverine-like healing powers. And when he comes back, he scores in a big game. This is Mckennie. He does this very often, like a lot. Next on the list, we have the Americans that play for PSV. Ricardo Pepi, Malik Tillman, and Richie Ledesma. And I also have good news on Serginho Dest. Apparently he's back in training and expected to be back in January of 2025. But let's talk about the Americans that actually played. And on Tuesday, Malik Tillman started and played 84 minutes for PSV during their 1-0 loss to Boob in the Champions League. Now, Ledesma came off the bench at halftime, while Ricardo Pepi was subbed in the 73rd minute for PSV. So I thought Tillman was actually very good throughout the game. Good on the ball, moving it well, very press resistant, setting up his teammates, and he had a nice shot on target from outside the box that was saved. He was legit good. But then, Brest scored 1 goal, and honestly, it was mostly on Tillman with his lazy and poor defending on a set piece where he completely lost his man and didn't really seem to have any sense of urgency. So yes, the goal that Brest scored was on Tillman, but if you judge his overall performance, it was good. But again, you can't be making those mistakes, right? It just can't happen. And it happened, and I guess we could say he played a big role on this loss despite the good performance. But you know who actually sucked and was wasteful? Luuk de Jong. Yes, he was. No goals or assists over the past 6 games for the veteran center forward. If he wasn't Dutch or their captain, he would have been benched by now. Ricardo Pepi came on and didn't really do much. He also didn't get much service. He had only 8 touches in 17 minutes, even though he did hit a shot on target that the goalkeeper saved it and ended up hitting the post. If Pepi scored that, it would have been great. It would have been tremendous for PSV and a massive point that they very much needed. Regardless, Pepi has actually delivered the past multiple games, unlike Luuk de Jong. At some point, they're going to have to bench the old man. And I also want to add this. Richie Ledesma has actually been quite good for PSV lately. Next on the list, we have Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty that play for Celtic. And on Tuesday, Carter-Vickers and Trusty both started and played the full 90 minutes for Celtic during their 0-0 draw with Dinamo Zagreb. And let's start the positives here. Trusty and Carter-Vickers did their job. They held a clean sheet. They were pretty good. Carter-Vickers actually won Man of the Match. He almost scored a goal also, by the way. He had a great opportunity to score from close range, but he blasted it over the crossbar, showing us why he's a center back and not a center forward. Regardless, Carter-Vickers was very good. Now, there isn't really any negatives here, but there is some context to be added. Yes, it was in the Champions League, but it was also against Dinamo Zagreb, right? Not a terrible team by any means, but also not a team that you really think about when envisioning the Champions League standard. Regardless, the 2 American center backs had a very good game. Last but not least in the Champions League, we have Giovanni Reyna from Borussia Dortmund, and it's actually surprised many. He started for them. And on Wednesday, Gio Reyna started and played 72 minutes for Dortmund during their 3-2 loss to Barcelona. In my opinion, he had a positive performance when you add the context that matters. The last time he started a game was for the US men's national team during the summer, so it's been a few months. And then he gets his first start of the season against Barcelona, which right now, they are one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world. And Gio Reyna, he wasn't spectacular, he wasn't great. He was average to slightly above average, but he showed he can hang with these tremendous players, which probably pissed off Landon Donovan and Alexi Lalas because they want Gio to go to MLS, which he definitely should not. And look, Gio Reyna took advantage of Barcelona's high line multiple times, but unfortunately his teammates could not stay onside. They were offside all the time. He had many good balls over the top, through balls. On defense, he was okay, not very good. I would say he was meh, not that good. And he did have 1 or 2 bad giveaways where he looked a bit rusty or too casual in possession. But overall, I liked what I saw. I still think Gio should leave Dortmund this winter, and we will release a video this Friday on where I think he should go. I'm going to go through 3 clubs that would be great for Gio Reyna, so I'm not going to talk about this here because we have a video coming out tomorrow talking about this specific topic. Now, before we continue, drop a like in this video if you haven't already, and a quick word from the sponsor of this video, SoRare. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Do you collect sports cards? Do you play fantasy sports? Yes, no, maybe? If you said yes to any of that, I got something for you. And if you said no, you might still want to stick around. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up with SoRare with a special offer. The link will be in the description. In SoRare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. And then you may be asking, why would I want to collect virtual cards? Well, you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week. And if your players perform in real life, you can win actual money, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your own club. And you can also get unique experiences like a friend of the channel, Fiago, that got to meet Zinedine Zidane. You know what's also cool? They also have the NBA and Major League Baseball. I'm mainly gonna just stick to soccer, but you do you. What I really like about Sorare before we even partnered with them is that they're unlike other fantasy games where you have to pay per play. In Sorare, you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards, and then you can play multiple times using those same cards, at least until the player retires, win rewards if your players perform in real life. You can also buy undervalued player cards for cheap, then hold, use them in the future when they improve or develop, and then you can even sell that card when its value goes up for better ones. Or just keep the money yourself. And if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get $50 in credit after buying your first 5 cards through auctions or instant buy at any prices. Play with responsibility. All right, enjoy. Okay, now to close the video, we're gonna go through the Americans that play in the EFL Championship in England. I won't be talking about the ones that play in the Europa League because we recorded this on Wednesday night. And the ones that play in the Europa League are Tenor Tessman that plays for Lyon, Johnny Cardoso that plays for Real Betis. Actually, I think some of them are in the Conference League, not even the Europa League. And then you have Heidenheim, obviously, with Leonard Maloney that plays in the Conference League. And Johnny Cardoso is also still injured. I don't even know if he's back at the time of this recording. He might be back over the weekend or in 2 weeks or so. But let's talk about the Americans that play in England, and why don't we start with Josh Sargent from Norwich. Actually, he's injured. Nothing to update there. He'll be back in 2025. So let's skip Josh Sargent and talk about Brendan Aronson. And on Tuesday, Brendan Aronson started and played the full 90 minutes for Leeds during their 3-1 win over Middlesbrough. Aronson scored late in the game to give Leeds the 3-1 lead and put the nail in the coffin for this one, giving them the 3 points. As for Aidan Morris, he was still not available for Middlesbrough due to a knee injury, and he's expected to be back in January. Last but not least, it would have been Haji Wright from Coventry, but he's still recovering from that nasty, terrible sprained ankle that he had before the US men's national team camp. We don't have a set date for his return. And then I would have talked about Ethan Horvath, but he's still benched for Cardiff City, a team from Wales, the country that is not really a good team. So Horvath actually should go to MLS. But everyone, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. On Friday, so the day after this video, we will release a video on where Gio Reyna should go this winter. He should leave Dortmund. I still think he has to go to a team where he's going to be the main protagonist. So leave Dortmund. And then on Monday, we have the US men's national team abroad. We can recap, hopefully, with plenty of good news. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Thank you Sorare for sponsoring this video, and have a great day.